The salvage operation on Kepler 442b was supposed to be routine. James Chen adjusted his environmental suit's filters as he navigated through the wreckage of what had once been a thriving Zephyrian research outpost. The crystalline structures lay shattered across the purple-tinged landscape, their bioluminescent cores long since dimmed. "Another dead end," Liza Rodriguez muttered through the comm, her voice crackling with static. She was working the eastern quadrant of the site, searching for anything of value among the debris. The consortium really picked this place clean before abandoning it. James paused at what appeared to be the remains of a medical facility. The Zephyrians were known for their advanced biotechnology, but even their miracle compounds couldn't survive the harsh reality of war economics. When the Galactic Trade Consortium deemed the research unprofitable, they'd pulled out overnight, leaving everything behind.
"Wait," James said, his scanner detecting a faint energy signature. "I'm picking up something in the medical wing. Could be a backup power cell." As he pushed through a collapsed doorway, his headlamp illuminated rows of empty containment pods.
Most were cracked open, their contents long since deteriorated. But one pod in the far corner still hummed with a weak power source. Through the translucent surface, James saw her. The Zephyrian child couldn't have been more than 7 years old by human standards. Her pale blue skin had taken on a grayish hue, and her normally luminescent hair filaments hung limp and dark. She was dying, had been dying for months, kept, barely alive by the pod's failing systems. "Liza, get over here," James called urgently. "What is it? Did you find something valuable?" James stared at the child's face, peaceful in her artificial sleep. "Yeah, I found someone they left behind." When Liza arrived, she took one look at the pod and shook her head. "James, we can't. The kid's practically gone already. Even if we could get her out, we don't have Zephyrian medical equipment on the ship. She'd die anyway. We have to try. Listen to yourself. She's not even human. The consortium left her here for a reason. Probably some kind of failed experiment. We're salvagers, not heroes." James began examining the pod's control systems. The Zephyrian script was complex, but he'd studied enough xenolinguistics to make sense of the basic functions. Her name is Kira, age 7. Medical file says she was here for treatment of a genetic condition. They were close to a cure when the evacuation order came. And now she's a lost cause. James, think rationally. We barely have enough supplies for ourselves on the journey back to Earth. Taking on a dying alien child is suicide. But James was already initiating the pod's emergency release sequence. The containment field shimmered and dissolved, and he carefully lifted the small form into his arms. She was impossibly light, her breathing shallow but steady. "You're making a mistake," Liza warned as they returned to their ship, the Wanderer. For 3 days, James worked tirelessly in the ship's small medical bay. He'd converted the atmospheric processor to generate a Zephyrian-compatible air mixture and jury-rigged a biosupport system using spare parts from their environmental suits. Liza helped reluctantly, muttering about resource depletion and their diminishing chances of making it home. On the 4th day, Kira opened her eyes. They were large and golden, with an inner light that seemed to pulse with her heartbeat. She looked around the unfamiliar room with confusion and fear until her gaze settled on James. Where is my mother?" she asked in accented standard. Her voice was barely a whisper. James felt his heart clench. According to the medical files, Kira's parents had died in the initial consortium bombardment. She was alone. She's not here right now," James said gently. "But you're safe. My name is James. This is Liza. We're going to take care of you." Over the following weeks, as they traveled through hyperspace toward Earth, something remarkable happened. Kira's presence transformed the sterile utilitarian ship into something that felt like home. She asked endless questions about human customs, taught them Zephyrian songs that made their bioluminescent panels glow in harmony, and showed them how to prepare nutritious meals from the ship's algae processors using techniques her people had perfected over millennia. But more than that, she gave them purpose. Liza found herself looking forward to Kira's excited observations about the stars visible through the observation deck. James discovered a talent for storytelling as he spun tales of Earth's oceans and forests for the curious child. They weren't just salvagers anymore, they were a family. When they finally reached Earth's orbital stations, they faced a bureaucratic nightmare. Kira had no legal status, no documentation, no recognized right to exist in human space. The Colonial Immigration Authority wanted to send her to a xenobiology research facility. She's not a specimen, James argued in the hearing room. She's a child who lost everything. We're all she has left. Mr. Chen, the immigration officer, replied coldly, "Your emotional attachment is understandable, but regulations are clear. Unaccompanied alien minors must be processed through appropriate channels." It was Liza who stood up then, her voice steady and determined. "Then we'll adopt her, legally, make her a human citizen." The officer blinked in surprise. "That's unprecedented." "So is a lot of what humans do," Liza said, reaching down to take Kira's small hand. "We don't abandon family. Not ever." 3 months later, James watched as Kira, now legally Kira Chen Rodriguez, played in their small apartment's garden with the neighbors' children. Her bioluminescent hair had returned to its natural blue-white glow, and her laughter filled the air like music. "Do you ever regret it?" Liza asked, joining him on the balcony. James smiled, remembering the moment he'd first seen that dying child in her pod. "Regret saving her? Never. Even though we gave up salvaging, even though we're living paycheck to paycheck now." He watched as Kira looked up and waved at them, her golden eyes bright with joy and health. "Liza, we didn't just save her life. She saved ours. She taught us what it really means to be human." That evening, as James tucked Kira into bed, she looked up at him with those remarkable eyes and said the word that never failed to fill his heart. "Dad?" "Yes, sweetheart." "Thank you for hearing me when I called for my mom. Even though I didn't say it out loud." James felt tears prick his eyes as he understood. In that moment in the pod, dying and alone, she had been calling out psychically for the mother she'd lost. And somehow, across species and space, he had heard. "That's what families do," he whispered, kissing her forehead. "We always hear each other when it matters most." Outside their window, the stars shone like beacons of hope in the darkness, and 3 hearts beat as one, human and alien, bound, not by blood or species, but by the simple revolutionary act of choosing love over fear, compassion over profit, and family over everything else. In a galaxy that often forgot the value of individual lives, they had remembered the most human truth of all, that every life matters and no one should face the darkness alone.